Hey guys, we're Jake and James from Inverted Reality, and you're watching Boss Fight, the podcast on hard mode. Welcome back to our bi-yearly podcast.
I like that. It has, you joke because if people are like, oh, it hadn't been that long. It really has been 6 months.
It has been. So we're just going to do it, once every 2 years, not twice a year.
Right. It's really important to have a distinction there.
You have to know, because otherwise you're going to be like, all right, it's been 6 months, where's the podcast? Like, no, you got to wait like 18 more. Sorry. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, so we haven't been just out about not doing anything. Mm-hmm. We just haven't been making content of it.
That's true. No, that's very true.
The main thing we've been doing, because it's the thing we always do, is playing video games. So, James, what have you been playing?
Well, I mean, you can always count on me for Destiny 2, right? It's a
100%.
I wouldn't say it's a religion, but I mean, I've got a clan that I play with. We raid like Tuesdays and, well, not so much Wednesdays anymore, but we raid 2 or 3 nights a week. I got a Sherpa people. I'll jump in there. So, but lately I've only been in like once or twice a week. The last annual pass DLC didn't really do it for me, and it's fine. They tried something new. It wasn't for me, and that's cool. So it's a little bit of a
drifter stuff.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a slow season. It's just there's no new raid, and so it just you ran out of stuff to do. The stuff that they did, that the Reckoning, just doesn't. It's cool, but it's just really hard, and it just seems a little bit. It's just they have matchmaking in it. It's like great, awesome. I can get in. I can play with anybody anytime I want. Problem is those people suck, like a majority of the time, and it's
those people aren't good at it.
Yeah, it's a reminder of why they don't do matchmaking in raids, but. That's that. That's not
supers at envoys as soon as it opens up.
That's not necessarily their fault. It's just my personal taste. So I've been pursuing titles and stuff. So I got a couple locked down now.
Nice.
But yeah, so this last week I picked up Spider-Man. Finally, I got
you did
$25
like 8 years later.
Yeah, I got it for $25. It's funny because it's just Facebook Marketplace, but I looked and we had a mutual friend, and it was our friend Pyro on PSN. If you remember who that is. It's one of our in real life friends. And so I get there and I was like, there's no way this guy knows him, right? It's just, that guy's got a lot of friends.
Just happened to be.
And he was wearing a shirt with the guy's work logo. And I'm like, that can't be. I was like, do you work there? He's like, yeah. I was like, do you know Pyro? And he was like, yeah, I know him.
I'm trying to think of who that is.
And I'll tell you later.
But
he was like, oh, yeah, I know Pyro. He's kind of a dick. Like, kind of joking, but I don't know this guy at all.
Yeah.
But he definitely knew.
You're not quite sure.
Yeah, I name dropped him. He was like, yeah, I know who that is. So I picked it up, and because I knew I would like it, because I played it at your place, and I read reviews, and I know myself. And, man, when people talk about the fluidity of Spider-Man and the swinging, you can't understand it until you get into it. It's
like, yes, I could fast travel from the north side of the city to the south side,
or I don't want to.
I could web swing the entire way down.
I solved 4 crimes. I picked up 7 backpacks, and I took 17 pictures on the way down. It's great.
I like that stuff is up. This isn't a video game review podcast. If we want to review Spider-Man, we will do it later. Otherwise, we will get lost in the weeds.
That's
on
true.
that.
I like Spider-Man, so that's what I've been doing. What
I was about to start into it.
What about you?
I, to be your ever constant counterpart, have played everything between now and the last time we podcasted.
That's true.
But the thing I played most recently that will be of interest to everyone is I played Days Gone. Mm-hmm. So it was in the red box right by my apartment the day of release.
That's beautiful.
So I got it.
They didn't used to do day of release stuff. I
don't know if they do it for everything.
I don't know.
Obviously, there's like
it used to be like a month or two, just like with old Netflix stuff. But yeah,
that's kind of what I thought it was going to be. And like I looked up on the app. Mm-hmm. I went and typed Days Gone. It said available April 26th, and I was like, oh well, I will reserve it now. Then thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was there, and I played something like 20 plus hours over the course of 3 days.
Because you had some time off, and your wife was gone, right?
I did. I had. Yeah. She started work, and so I was just at home, not doing anything. So I was like, I'm just gonna play Days Gone. And it was one of those, I told James this, like, it was one of those, I wasn't sure if I was into it at first. And when I had that realization of like, I don't know, this game's grabbed me. I'd been sitting down for like 6 hours already. And I was like, well, I guess it's grabbed me enough. And then I stopped playing and immediately was like, I want to keep playing Days Gone. And right then I was like, all right, yep, I'm into this game. It's awesome.
Now, does it get trapped into that like samey feeling of open world of like everything just feels like the same 2 or 3 things like regurgitated over and over again?
A little bit. There's a little bit like the side quests of like, oh, there's a marauder camp next by. Like obviously, it's just, okay, clear out the marauder camp, make it safe. But they pitch it into the idea of you, Deacon, are trying to clear a path north for you and your buddy Boozer to ride your bikes out of Farewell, Oregon. There's where they're at. So
sweet.
It's cool. The story is really good, and
I want to check
the physics of driving the bike around. It's just different from everything else we've ever done. So it's like open world games have always been like horses, or driving a car, which driving a car feels the same everywhere. But we've driven bikes in other games, and this just doesn't feel like that. I've never driven a motorcycle in real life, but I imagine this is what it feels like.
Yeah, I got you.
But anyways, we might do something on those games later on, because this podcast we're talking about Sony and Microsoft's disc measuring contest. Pause for crickets.
No, that's a good one. I like it. I told him in the pre-show. I really enjoyed that.
Pre-show, man, look at you. That sounds
that's
fancy.
right. I've been practicing.
If you subscribe to our Patreon, you can... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Right on the Patreon.
But anyways, if you missed it, a few months ago, Xbox announced the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, which features a lack of a disk drive. And so that sort of begs the question, what does this mean for the future of console gaming? Because that's always been part of our lives as console gamers. PC abandoned discs long ago. They abandoned physical media long ago. But it's one of those things that's still normal for us. Like we just talked about it right now with Days Gone and Spider-Man. Those are on discs.
So, I mean, we wanted
to talk about it.
I have a lot of thoughts. I mean, with the Xbox One S All Digital, if you guys don't know, it's the exact same console as your Xbox One S. It's got the 1 terabyte hard drive. It's got, it's white. And I'm white, and it's white, but it's same CPU, same power stuff. It's same size. They didn't cut back on size at all for some inalienable reason.
We had to leave room in there for the power brick, James.
Right? Yeah. And so they want $250 for it, and you're like, well, that doesn't seem awful, but the full Xbox One S with the 4K Blu-ray player is $300. So what you're telling me is you took out a large marketing point for many people and then cut $50. Like, it's just like, you got to think about the ramifications. Like, you don't have to buy games. You can just buy digital. It's like, well, have you ever had 1 terabyte hard drive in an Xbox One? The size of games on Xbox seems to run a little bit bigger.
Are huge, it feels like.
And so you can't hold as much. So I would have hoped for maybe a 2 terabyte with an all digital, because that's where it has to go. And I get the argument is when you have a disc, it still installs it, and so it's not much of a difference. But you would think that if they're going to have a digital focus with downloading games, that they would have a bigger hard drive. The fact that it's not an SSD is a little disappointing. I would think at that price point, without a Blu-ray player, without that 4K capabilities, you would want it at $200. I feel like that would be a good selling point. But high-speed internet,
especially because it's still like an old console, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean it's
a model. I mean, for lack of a better term, because I think of a model year later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
the Xbox One X exists. It's the like powerhouse gaming machine right now. But we're doing it for the S, and we're not making it cheaper, even though it's the same thing. And they're probably even saving money on manufacturing because they don't have to put optical drives in anything.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like enough of a savings to justify, and because of the things you're losing, because you're losing the 4K Blu-ray playback, which is half the reason I have mine, and about the only thing it gets turned on for anymore. But you can't do physical games. You can't rent games. Like, if you want to try something out in 2019, you can't have this console because people don't do demos anymore, and there's no such thing as getting a refund on a digital game on a console. Go call Microsoft or Sony and try. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Return policy is not like what it is in Steam. Now, if Microsoft were to come out and say, like, all right, cool, now that you have a digital console, we're going to give you this 48-hour window, and if you've only played the game 2 hours or less and you want to get a refund, we'll refund you, no questions asked. Great. Do that. But until they do something like that, I just don't see why you would buy this console. There's no benefit other than cashing in, especially right at the end of a generation. Microsoft is pretty clearly poised to move quickly.
Yeah, I think I see it being more of a benefit for the guys with PC, the folks with PC that are taking more advantage of the Xbox Play Anywhere or Microsoft Play Anywhere, whatever it is. Like, I bought this game on my Xbox and I can play it on my PC, or if I bought it on the Xbox store and played it on my PC, I can now play it on my Xbox. I already own it digital. It's not a disc anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, why
if you have
a PC that can play all the games, why would you bother having an Xbox to have worse graphics, and not mouse and keyboard? But I don't know. I think it's a stupid console. It's a stupid idea. It's a stupid price point. I think it's dumb. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
But when we talk about what it looks like for the future, we talk about Sony. If you hadn't heard, they recently announced some specs for the PS5. It maybe a diskless version exists at some point. I don't think so. Launch consoles
definitely won't launch with one.
Yeah, launch console has a disk drive. It's going to be backwards compatible. They mentioned that. A couple of the specs for this, because there's obviously a lot of rumors. They confirmed some things. They said 8-core AMD processor, 8 gig of DDR5 RAM, which is really good. A really nice GPU. They're talking 3D audio, which is something we don't have in consoles. So that'd be really cool. A lot better surround sound functions with that. And then the possibility of 8K, whether it's actual gaming at that or just pretty screens, I don't know. But I think it was less about, hey, guess what, we can do 8K, of more like, look how powerful we are that we can go all the way to 8K.
It can do 8K, so imagine how smoothly it's going to run your 4K.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would expect in the PS5 and in the Xbox 2, what are they going to call it? They've backed themselves into a corner. I would assume that both of them are going to be able to do 4K 60 on a majority of games that come out.
I think it'd be stupid for them not to at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I would upgrade console,
personally. Let's say a liberal estimate would be 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we could easily see the PS5 in 2020. At least it'll be announced in 2020, right?
Oh yeah.
Sony's not going to be at E3 this year, so they're not going to announce it this year.
I mean, they could do it at one of their smaller conferences. They could do a PlayStation Experience. They
could. But
I like chances of getting more details on it this year. I would assume 2020 for PS5, because Xbox is going to be 2020. Xbox is probably going to announce at E3 this year. That's almost guaranteed at this point. But do you think they're going to announce at E3 and then have it 4 months later? I don't think so.
No.
So they're going to be Christmas 2020. And I think PlayStation will announce later this year at their own event that they can control and they can do everything for.
They're doing PSX this year?
I think so. I think they skipped last year because there was nothing. So
PSX 2019.
Or maybe they're skipping they skipped 2018, right?
Yeah, they skipped 2018. They didn't do it last year because Kind of Funny did the game showcase.
Yeah, they just didn't. I mean, they didn't have anything. They had their big 4 games. That's what they said at going into E3. But we know that the dev consoles have been in their hands for the last 18 months. With previous launches of consoles, the dev consoles are typically in their hands 2.5 to 3 years before. So I think like Christmas 2020 for both consoles, probably like October, maybe November. I don't know. I think that's when you're going to see stuff launching. So we know that their goal is to get out at the same time. The rumors are that Xbox is probably a little bit bigger spec-wise. So it's really interesting. But as far as discs go, both of them appear that they might have a disc. Like Microsoft's still in the dark there. So I'm curious, what does media look like, you think, going forward for these consoles?
I don't know. There was an article that I have linked in the notes below that talked about it's a guy, I will not do him like just the insult of trying to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
You'll have to look it up in the article, but he's the technical director at Cradle Games, and they have a game coming out on Steam later this year. But he said, quote, "One thing I would like to see is some games should be able to be offered on cartridges or USB keys. For the developers, we end up trying to ship games on a disc. It's pretty much always been the same issue. You have to get your game ready ahead of time by 2 months so they can be pressed onto a disc. I think the issue is having a disc or USB. I think the issue of having a disc or a USB key or a cartridge is pretty much the same. I could see printing Blu-rays takes time, just do it properly. Mm-hmm. Flashing USB key with an existing image, on the other hand, is much faster," end quote. So that idea is interesting to me. So like the Switch has cartridges. Mm-hmm. It's very much a Nintendo thing. They've never had. I mean, they had discs with the Wii and I think with the Wii U as well.
Yeah.
And the GameCube, obviously, but I don't think I'd see Sony or Microsoft doing cartridges. I think it's a disc. It's a Blu-ray disc, like it's been for the last couple of years, or it's digital. I think we skip the alternate media form of it. Well, I think it'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
But
that's the big question, right? Because I mean, we look at Heck, we had Red Dead Redemption. It's 2 discs. If you go to Redbox and you want to rent it, 2 discs. If you want to go to Family Video and rent it, it's 2 discs. You buy it, it's 2 discs. And it's, you look at Blu-ray storage capacity. Single layer discs, which aren't really used anymore, are 25 gig. Dual layers, which is what a lot of them are, is 50 gig. There's a 100 gig disc that adds a third layer of storage, and there is a new format that's being worked on called the BDXL format, which in theory would be able to go up to 128 gigs with a 4th storage layer on the same size disc, which is really incredible. That being said, you got to look at the size of these games, and if you think they're high with some 4K textures, right? Then you're going to think about going up to 8K. You're going to think about the extra RAM being used. You're going to think about the extra GPU processing power and all this stuff going into it. You know that these are going to be built with SSDs in mind. So the idea is even more data going through it. I think that you're going to cap out the capabilities for these big AAA games for what Blu-rays can do. So what's your solution? Is that a this gen scenario, or is that like after the PS5 we're no longer going to have consoles because it's going to be 2025 and we're just going to have it imprinted in our brains? Like what comes next? Because until the internet speeds, the average internet speeds in America or in the UK or wherever catch up with what you need. I mean, how long did it take people to download Red Dead Redemption with a 100 gig download? Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Took me several hours, and I've got pretty good internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't have fiber. Like, I live in an apartment building, and they provide us with, pretty good internet. It's really reliable, really steady. And it took me, I don't know. It was one of those things I started while I was gone.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna start this, and we're gonna go do our errands for the day, and then I'll come back to all my updates and everything being done.
Right. Exactly. So, like,
yeah, I think the idea of, like, do we see discs and Blu-rays going forward? I don't even think it's something we see after PS5. I think it's something we see in the middle of this next generation. Because when did the PS4 come out?
2013.
13? Yeah. So, like, life cycles are pretty long, and so I think you think over the course, even if it's like a 7 or 8 year cycle and it releases in 2020, like, what's technology going to be like in 2028?
I don't know. That's the crazy part. But that becomes the question. Do you even think we'll still have consoles at that point? Because that is, 9-10 years from now, by the time we might see another one.
I think, honestly, like, you mentioned that, and it brings up to me, like, how well is that Google Stadia going to do, right?
Yeah.
That's coming out. That's not a console, right? The console's stored in the controller.
Yeah.
So it's like I take the controller and it streams to my TV and it does all that work for me. So we'll see how well that works, but I can see that being the future of things.
The big thing is not just like the download speed and streaming that stuff, because you can stream 4K to your house with, 20 or 30 meg down decently well, right? We've got 60 down and 4K is no problem to stream. Like, it's not even an issue. So it's not getting the stuff there. It's the input lag, right? It's the ping. It's that. It's like, how do you solve for that? And so Stadia promises these big, huge things and show this really cool demo of Assassin's Creed in 4K running this, and it looked like virtually no input lag. But is that the ideal scenario for everybody? Are you running on a gigabit connection? Like, what's the story behind Fiber? That? Right now, the latest data shows like Q3 2018. From the speedtest.net, which is what most people use, the average broadband speed in America is 96 meg down. 96. So just round off, say 100. 100 down.
Yep.
Right? So some people have less, some people have more. That's how averages work. I don't think that the broadband speeds we see right now can support something like Stadia, because there's lots of people out there that don't hit that. And so what if Stadia needs 50 down and they also need like a 10 millisecond ping? It's like, you're not going to get that with traditional copper, cable stuff. You need like this fiber optic stuff. You need new technology. And just that's not available for a large portion of the country. So I think as media sizes increase, as we start to have a bigger demand for higher textures and better looking games and all these things, it's moving faster than I think the internet can deliver it to us. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's enough ISPs that control everything, from monopolies to, small towns being locked down to one choice, that they have no reason to innovate. And there's no benefit to it for them because they're not making any extra money off of it. So I don't know. The global average, ours is 96 meg. Well, the global average is 46 meg. And maybe that goes up a little bit. But so then, that's everywhere. Like 50 meg down anywhere you're at. Like that's good enough right now, but the speed's improvement from last year was about 35%, whereas I think the demands that we're going to see are just going to keep going up and up and up, and I don't think we're going to keep up. So I don't know. I don't have an answer. Those are fun numbers that I like to throw out.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool stats. It's good to know. I think another thing that is something to be thinking about, and I'm sure something that the owners of these places are already thinking about, what does it look like for brick and mortar stores, right? Mm-hmm. What does it look like for GameStop, for the next-gen console to release an all-digital version? Like, Ooh. Do we see them shut down?
I don't think GameStop makes it out of
marketing?
2020. I don't think GameStop makes it to the launch of the new consoles. Their business model's not sustainable, and it hasn't been for a long time. And now they can't find a buyer, and they're going to go bankrupt, and they're going to be closing stores. Like they're not even going to make it to the launches. And so everywhere else is the stores that do other things and also sell games. And I think you're just going to see that cut back. You're going to see Walmart's good, like stuff's just going to start disappearing. We're not going to see it at Walmart.
I mean, already go to the electronics section of Walmart and see what you see there. You don't see walls of games. What you see is walls of accessories, right?
Yep.
Like here's the Sony PlayStation 4 controllers, and here's the weird. I'm not sure who made this PlayStation controllers. And the cool Switch cases and all the Nintendo accessories, like
which is fine. But that's what it has to be, because they just, if you go to Walmart or Target, they don't have sales on games. Like the games, you can go out there and still find Black Ops 4 for $60. That's stupid. I can find that anywhere else I want to. And so it's like those are the kind of things that are going to go by the wayside. And the only reason it's still there is because you still have people that will just buy it sight unseen, because that's just how they are. That's just, people are always going to be that way. I mean, that's how we were growing up, because we didn't have internet. We didn't have these things to go research this stuff. So there's still people out there that do that. So I think there will be a niche in stores that already have them. And it's like, oh, cool. We got this little section right here. We got one section, and it's got, here's the Xbox games, and here's the PS5 games, and then here's Nintendo's latest failure. There's 3 games for it. It's just 3 versions of Mario, with and without mustache. But I mean, I think that's what the future is. I don't think you can continue to have standalone stores anymore like GameStop. I don't think GameStop makes it another year, personally.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And it kind of as a sidebar, as we're talking about this, I think it's crazy to go see where things have been, like where we grew up playing games on like Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1 and even the 2 that didn't have internet, and it wasn't even something you thought about. Like, I'm gonna connect my, gaming console to the internet and play with other people. And now we're talking about consoles that are exclusively you get your games from the internet, and it doesn't take you that long.
It's just totally different. I mean, there was no benefit. You didn't update games. It's like what you got is what you got. Everything was 1.0. Like some of the stuff.
Back in my day, all the games came finished.
But they didn't. But they did. Like there was bugs.
No, they didn't. They were just broken forever.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's interesting. I'm excited for the new consoles. I think it'll be good. I'm excited for that big generational leap. I got the PS4 Pro since our last podcast, and I've had it for a couple months, and it's awesome. It's great. It's a worthwhile upgrade. It runs so much quieter than my launch day PS4 did. It was great. I got in on a good sale. They took my launch day PS4 for $200, just like right off the top. And I was never going to sell it. Like I could not sell that thing. It was 6 years old. That thing was huffing and puffing. You put it in like God of War. It
cool looking.
It was basically God of War. That's what it sounded like when I turned it on. So
it was just funny. Like I was playing Days Gone and I heard the console like fans spin up. Plus the disc spinning around. I was like, well, that's actually kind of loud. But it was also a disc, and it was Days Gone.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You're good. We could sit here and talk the rest of the time for about all
we
stuff.
Could. This is what we do.
But yeah, I am excited. I am excited for new consoles. I think that it's really cool the things we're about to be able to do, and I'm very excited for it.
Truth. I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you fully behind a completely digital console? I know a lot of people we hang out with are PC gamers, so to them it's like, yeah, sure, let's go for
like,
it. Who
what's
cares?
A console?
They're like, disc? What is that? I don't know. Do you drive with it?
Like,
it looks like a steering
it's
wheel.
A Steam thing. It's Epic Games. Epic Games is bringing back discs. That's the problem with America today. Or UK.
That's the problem with PC gaming. They're going to ruin PC gaming with the Epic Store.
How dare they offer competition at a valid source?
That's a topic for another day.
That's another boss fight. Maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah, we should.
What do you
but
guys,
until next time, remember.
What do you guys want to hear Sorry, I interrupted you. You were ramping up. But what do you guys want to hear? Let us know in the comments below what we should discuss next on Boss Fight.
Yes. And until next time, remember to save your game because the next boss could be a power outage. We'll see you next time. Bye.